Jai Hind everyone. Myself Dr. Vanna Sharma from Ajay Kumar Garg Engineering College. The subject which I am taking, subject is Engineering Physics. Subject code is KS101T. And the topic which I am discussing, the topic is electromagnetic field theory. So we have discussed about a lot of concepts of electromagnetic field theory. Like we have discussed about displacement current, and on the basis of that we have modified Ampere's law. Then we have derived or we have written the four Maxwell equations which are the base of electromagnetic field theory. After that we have derived or that equation of continuity from our fourth Maxwell equation, and at that point we have represented that equation of continuity as law of conservation of charge. After this we have written electromagnetic wave equations in different mediums. Like we have written that electromagnetic wave equation in free space, then in conducting medium, and in non-conducting, or you can say in a dielectric medium. So in these different mediums, how the electromagnetic radiations they propagate, we have discussed about that propagation mechanism with the help of those electromagnetic wave equations, right? And after that, in conducting medium, since when electromagnetic pulse is propagating, the amplitude of electric and magnetic field that will decrease exponentially. Means when an electromagnetic pulse is entering into a conducting medium, then at the surface of that conducting medium the amplitude of electric field and magnetic field will be maximum, and when the pulse is going deep into the medium, there will be an exponential decay in the amplitude of electric field as well as magnetic field. So that particular distance at which the amplitude is 1 upon exponential times maximum value, that distance from the surface of conducting medium is known as skin depth. So this topic we have discussed in our last lecture. The topic which today I am going to discuss, that topic is again a very important topic in order to describe this electromagnetic field theory. So up to here what I have discussed about electromagnetic radiations, means I have discussed about light. And you know, when light is traveling in a certain medium, it is carrying energy along with it. Means when electromagnetic pulse, when light is propagating in a certain medium, then that light radiation that is also carrying energy. So there will be transfer of energy from one point to another in a certain medium. So that flow of energy along with that electromagnetic pulse, that was given by Poynting, and that flow of energy was given in terms of a vector, and that vector is known as Poynting vector. And the mathematical expression through which we can represent that flow of energy, that mathematical representation, that was given in the form of a theorem, and that is a very famous theorem in electromagnetic field theory. So that theorem is the topic of discussion of today's lecture. So today the topic which I am going to discuss, that topic is Poynting theorem and Poynting vector. So this is the topic for discussion here. So first we will try to understand that what is the meaning of this Poynting vector. So as I have told you that when electromagnetic pulse, when electromagnetic wave travels in space, it carries energy, right? So when a pulse is propagating, then that particular pulse is carrying energy along with it, right? And that energy will be in the form of electrical energy as well as magnetic energy. Energy density is always associated with electric field and magnetic field. So it means whenever a pulse is propagating, it is carrying energy along with it. So the rate of energy traveled through per unit area, that is amount of energy flowing. The flow of energy, that is also known as power. It means the power per unit area which is associated with that electromagnetic radiation, that is represented in terms of a vector. So there is a vector which will represent that flow of energy per unit area, and that vector is known as Poynting vector. And the mathematical expression or mathematical form or mathematical theorem which will describe this flow of energy per unit area along with the electromagnetic radiation, that theorem is known as Poynting theorem. So again I am repeating it, that whenever electromagnetic pulse is propagating, it is carrying electrical energy as well as magnetic energy. So that flow of energy in a certain medium, that flow of energy per unit area, which is also known as power per unit area, that is represented in electromagnetics in terms of a vector, and that vector is denoted by this S, and S is known as Poynting vector. So this Poynting vector is a cross product of E and H, where E is electric field and H is magnetic field. So this S is known as Poynting vector. The magnitude S represents the rate at which the energy flows through a unit surface area perpendicular to direction of wave propagation, right? So this is your Poynting vector. Now how we have defined this Poynting vector like this, that we will understand with the help of Poynting theorem. So now I am going to derive that Poynting theorem. So as you know, in electromagnetics, since Maxwell equations, they are the base of electromagnetic field theory. So in order to derive this Poynting vector, or in order to describe this Poynting theorem, again we are going to take the help of Maxwell equations, right? And you know how many Maxwell equations are there? There are 4 Maxwell equations, and out of those 4 Maxwell equations, if you remember, then the third and fourth Maxwell equations, basically those equations are a correlation between E and H. And those 2 equations, that is third and fourth Maxwell equations, are the main equations, because you can derive your first as well as second equations with the help of third and fourth. It means third and fourth, those equations are the main equations. So I am going to derive this Poynting vector with the help of that third and fourth Maxwell equation. So I hope you remember what is your third Maxwell equation and fourth Maxwell equation. So I am starting with the derivation of this Poynting theorem. So this is your third Maxwell equation. Del cross E is minus mu naught del H upon del T. So as you know, this third Maxwell equation, that is derived, or basically it is a differential form of Faraday's law of electromagnetic induction, right? So you know this is your third Maxwell equation. And your fourth Maxwell equation is this one, curl of H is equal to J plus epsilon naught del E by del T. And you know, you are very much familiar with this. You know this particular equation is a differential form of modified Ampere's law. So I am going to take the help of these two, and I am going to derive this Poynting theorem. So what you have to do, just remember these steps. You have to take the dot product of this equation with H, that is equation number 1. You are going to take the dot product of this with H, and you are going to take the dot product of second equation with E. So take the dot product of 1 with H and take the dot product of second with E. It means you have to take the dot product of left hand side as well as right hand side. So if you will take that dot product, what you are going to get? So after taking dot product of 1 with H and 2 with E, we are having this H dot del cross E, that is your left hand side, equal to minus, that minus sign is there, H dot mu naught del H upon del T. Now as you can see here, this is constant, you can take that constant outside. So you are having minus mu naught H dot del H upon del T. So we have represented this as equation number 3. Now take dot product of equation number 2 with E. So if you will take the dot product of equation number 2 with E, you are going to get left hand side as E dot del cross H. And on right hand side you have E dot J plus that will be E dot epsilon naught del E by del T. But you know that epsilon naught is constant. You can take it as a constant, common factor. So you are getting epsilon naught E dot del E by del T. So this is your equation number 4. Now the next step is subtract 4 from 3. So these are the steps which we have to follow. So subtract 4 from 3. So if you will subtract 4 from 3, what you are going to get? You have to subtract left hand side from left hand side. So it is H dot del cross E minus E dot del cross H. So this is your left hand side. And on the right hand side, as you can see here, minus mu naught H dot del H by del T, and these two terms will be with minus sign, minus epsilon naught E dot del E by del T minus E dot J. Now this term, since it is a dot product of J and E, what is J? J is the conduction current density. Since it is a dot product of J and E, and you know dot product is commutative, so you can write it as j dot e or e dot j, both terms both are going to give you the same meaning. So somewhere in this derivation I have written this e dot j as j dot e. So it should be clear that you can write this dot product as e dot j or j dot e, but that is not true in case of cross product. That is true only in case of dot product, right? So further simplifying this, left hand side that is written in the same form, but you can see now this particular term, the first term, that is written as minus sign as it is, and del by del t of half mu naught h square. Now why I am writing this in this particular form? Suppose you are taking the differentiation of this particular term, del by del t of half mu naught h square. If you will take this dot product, what you will get? If you will take this differentiation, you will get 1 by 2 mu naught 2h del h by del t, means this will be 1 by 2 mu naught then 2h del h by del t. So this this 2 will get cancelled with this, right? And finally what you are getting? You are getting the same term mu naught h del h upon del t, means this term can be written in this particular form. And if you remember from your previous classes, this half mu naught h square, basically this is the energy density in magnetostatics, means this is energy per unit volume in case of magnetostatics. So that is the reason I have represented it in this particular form. Following the similar logic, your second term, this particular term epsilon naught del E dot del E by del T, that is written as del by del T of half epsilon naught E square. If you will differentiate it, you will get the same term. It means we can write this as derivative of del by del T of half epsilon naught E square. And you know why I have written it like this? Because you know this half epsilon naught E square, that is electrostatic potential energy, or you can say energy per unit volume in case of electrostatics. So I have represented this in terms of energy, I have represented this in terms of energy, and when this del by del T is there, it means that is a flow of energy, right? So just to simplify it, and in order to convert it in the form of energy, I have written these two terms like this. Clear? This term implies this and this term implies this, and the remaining factor will remain same. Clear? So after this, you have combined those two terms, that is half mu naught h square, and the second one is half epsilon naught E square, and since this del by del T, this operator is applicable on both the terms, so here those two terms are combined and you are getting del by del T of half mu naught h square plus half epsilon naught E square, right? So you are getting this. Now you have to simplify this left hand side. So now our objective is to simplify it. So in order to simplify it, we are going to use this identity. So you have to remember this identity, that is divergence of A cross B. If A and B, these are two vectors, and if you are taking the divergence of cross product of those two vectors, then that will be equal to B dot del cross A minus A dot del cross B. So you have to remember this, but you can prove it in mathematics. So the proof is in mathematics here. In this case, in our case, we are straight away using this identity, so you have to remember it. So if we are using this particular identity, or if you are using this logic, then according to this, if instead of A we are having E and instead of capital V we are having H, then you can write divergence of E cross H, that will be equal to H dot del cross E minus E dot del cross H. So if you are using this logic, then your left hand side of equation number 5, that can be replaced with divergence of E cross H, and there is a logic of using each and every operator or each and every operation in this derivation, because you have to find a mathematical expression which can represent the flow of energy. So that is our objective, that is why we are simplifying it like this. So just replace this left hand side with divergence of E cross H. So after replacing, you are getting this left hand side as divergence of E cross H, and right hand side that is written the same form, minus del by del t of half mu naught h square plus half epsilon naught e square minus E dot j, right. Now just rearrange these terms. So after rearranging, we have kept this E dot j or j dot E on one side and rest of the terms are transferred on other side. So you are getting this, right. So next step is we are taking a volume integral of this equation. So again there is a logic of taking volume integral here. So when I am taking this volume integral, then this entire equation that will become minus that is volume integral of minus j dot E equals to volume integral of divergence of E cross H plus volume integral of del by del t of half mu naught h square plus half epsilon naught E square. So now the question arises that why I have taken the volume integral here. Now the answer is, you know, this particular term is the energy in magnetostatics. This term is also energy in electrostatics. It means that the combination of these two, that is also represents energy. And when this del by del t operator is there, it means it is flow of energy. So this term represents flow of energy. And if you will see this left hand side, you have j dot E. And this j is conduction current density, E is the electric field. If you will simplify it, then this j dot E, that can also be written as rate of doing work, or that can be written as flow of energy. So this term represents flow of energy. This term is also the flow of energy. It means the remaining term that can be interpreted in similar manner. But the problem with this remaining term is that there is a operator, that is divergence operator there. So if you want to interpret that term, then divergence, that operator, mathematical operator, can be a hurdle. So what you have to do, somehow we want to remove that operator from this equation. And you know, if you will take the volume integral and if you will get this term, then your Gauss divergence theorem, that can convert a volume integral into a surface integral, because according to Gauss divergence theorem, if you are having a vector A, then the surface integral of that vector according to Gauss divergence theorem, that will be equal to divergence of volume integral of divergence of that vector. So here you have volume integral of divergence of this vector E cross H. So if you will apply this Gauss divergence theorem, you can convert it in this surface integral, and then that divergence term can be removed from here. So that is the reason you have taken the volume integral here. So after taking volume integral, we are getting this, right. Now the next step is that you are getting this according to Gauss divergence theorem, since surface integral of, according to divergence theorem, you have a vector E cross H. So its surface integral will be equal to volume integral of divergence of E cross H, right. So since there was volume integral of divergence of E cross H, so we have replaced it with surface integral of E cross H. So now you have this simplified equation, which is your mathematical form of Poynting theorem. So mathematically you have reached at this expression, which is known as mathematical form of Poynting theorem. But since it is a mathematical expression, you have to explain the meaning of each and every term here. So now we will try to understand the meaning of each and every term from this particular mathematical equation, right. So now we will interpret this mathematical equation. So first I would like to highlight that how you are getting this mathematical expression. What you have done, you have taken your third Maxwell and fourth Maxwell equation. Why you are using only third and fourth Maxwell equation? Because those equations are the main equations. After taking third Maxwell equation, take the dot product of that equation with H, and fourth Maxwell equation, take dot product of that equation with E, and then subtract that fourth equation from third and simplify it and rearrange the terms, and finally take volume integral and then apply this Gauss divergence theorem. You are getting this mathematical form. Now we have to represent, we have to interpret the meaning of each and every term of this equation, right. So this equation is your Poynting theorem. So if you will see this equation carefully, then there is one term which is very much familiar to you, and that is this last term, del by del T of half mu naught h square plus half epsilon naught E square. So first of all I am going to explain that term. So as you can see here, I have taken that term, volume integral of del by del T of half mu naught h square plus half epsilon naught E square. As you know, this particular term, this half epsilon naught E square, that represents the energy stored, electric energy stored per unit volume, and the term half mu naught h square, that represents the energy, magnetic energy stored per unit volume, right? It means this is energy, this is also energy, and if you are having this operator, del by del T operator, that represents the flow of energy. The volume integral of sum represents the total electromagnetic energy stored within the volume V. It means this particular term, this term represents flow of energy per unit volume, right? So you know the meaning of this particular last term, this term of Poynting theorem. That term represents flow of energy per unit volume, right? So you know the meaning of this. Now similarly we are going to interpret the remaining two terms. So in the next case, this term minus J dot E, that is taken. So this minus J dot E, this term represents the total dissipated power within volume V at any instant. So how this is written? So let me explain that. You know this J, that is conduction current density, and E is the electric field. You know J, that is conduction current density, is current upon area, and you know this current can be written as A N E into V upon A into E. This is according to the derivation of Ohm's law. I am writing this. A will get cancelled, and you have E, that is the charge on a electron, and N is the number of electrons per unit volume. It means this product of N and E, that represents the total charge. So I am replacing that total charge with Q. So you have QV into E, means this J dot E, that is basically QV into E. And you also know that rate of doing work, that will be equal to work done as F into S upon T, and you know S into T, that can be written as V, right? And you know that electric field is the force per unit charge. So the F can be written as Q into E. It means this rate of doing work, and that work done will convert in the form of energy. It means this J dot E is basically the flow of energy. This J dot E is mathematically QV into E, and rate of doing work or flow of energy is also QV into E. It means this term J into E, that is also flow of energy. This flow of energy, that rate of energy, flow of energy means power. So this term represents the total dissipated power within volume V at any instant, because you have that volume integral there. So if you want to interpret this term, then this term represents the power, because negative sign is there, so the total dissipated power within volume V at any instant. I hope the meaning of this J dot E is clear now. You have three terms in mathematical form of Poynting theorem. We have interpreted the first term, which we already know from our previous classes, that half epsilon naught E square is an energy in electric field. Half mu naught h square is energy in magnetic field. So those two terms, when they are combined, then that is the total electromagnetic energy, and if del by del T is there, then that is flow of energy. So in that integral, that term represents flow of energy per unit volume. Now a second term, this in a term with negative sign is there, so that negative sign indicates the energy dissipated. So this term represents the total dissipated power. How I am saying dissipated power? Because this is work done, W upon T, energy upon time, or flow of energy. Flow of energy is known as power. So these two terms, now they are known to us. These two terms are known to us. One term is representing flow of energy per unit volume. Another one is also the form of flow of energy per unit volume. It means the remaining term. You have one term remaining, one term left in that mathematical form of Poynting theorem. So that term will also, dimensionally that equation will be correct if that term will also represent the flow of energy. But as you can see here in this particular, as you can see here in this term, in this particular term here, this is surface integral. So it means this E cross H, when you are going to interpret it, then this term will also represent flow of energy, but that flow of energy will be per unit area. This term is a flow of energy for per unit volume, that the term del by del T half epsilon naught E square plus half epsilon naught mu square dB. Now if you are going to mu naught H square. So if you are going to represent this particular term, then this is representing flow of energy per unit volume. This is flow of energy per unit volume. This is also flow of energy per unit volume. So dimensionally, that mathematical equation of Poynting theorem, that will be correct if this E cross H will represent flow of energy per unit area. So that is the meaning of this E cross H, and this E cross H is known as Poynting vector. So this term E cross H represents the rate of flow of energy per unit area and is known as Poynting vector. I hope this is clear. So these are the interpretations of your Poynting theorem. So just give me 1 minute. So this is your Poynting theorem. This is your Poynting theorem mathematical form, and you have interpreted the meaning of each and every term. This is flow of energy per unit volume. This is your flow of energy per unit volume. It means dimensionally equation will be correct if the remaining term will also represent the flow of energy. But if it will represent flow of energy per unit area, only then this mathematical equation will be correct. That is the reason your Poynting vector, that is S, which is E cross H, that is representing flow of energy per unit area. So what is S? It is your Poynting vector. And what is the significance of this? It is flow of energy per unit area. And you know, flow of energy per unit area means power per unit area. So this S is, Poynting vector is power per unit area, which is also known as intensity. So your Poynting vector is going to represent the intensity of electromagnetic pulse, and that intensity is basically the cross product of E and H. It means if you want to represent the flow of energy associated with the electromagnetic pulse for per unit area, then that will be given by the cross product of E and H. So this cross product of E and H, that will represent your Poynting vector, right? So that's all about this Poynting theorem. Now the next one is momentum and radiation pressure. So electromagnetic wave carry linear momentum as well as energy. When this momentum is absorbed at surface, pressure is exerted on that surface, right? If we assume that electromagnetic radiation is incident on an object for a time delta t, and that radiation is entirely absorbed by the object, then the object gains energy delta u in time delta t. And Maxwell, he proved that this momentum is equal to that delta p is equal to delta u upon c. How it is written? You know, electromagnetic radiations means we are talking about photons, and in case of photon, you know, that is a massless particle, and a massless particle energy is p into c. Here the energy is written in the form of u. So what will be momentum? Momentum will be equal to u upon c. So since that energy is written in the form of delta u and momentum is written in the form of delta p, so that delta p is delta u upon c. So if you are having a perfectly absorbing surface over which the electromagnetic radiation is striking, then the momentum will be energy upon time. Energy is delta u, energy upon c, delta u upon c. How you are getting that? From the concept of massless particles, you are getting this delta p is delta u upon c. The direction of momentum change of the object is in the direction of incident radiation. So whenever electromagnetic pulse will strike on a surface, there will be a change in momentum of that radiation, and that change in momentum is given in terms of energy. So that will be equal to delta u upon c, but it will be for only those surfaces which are perfectly absorbing surfaces. So this is the incident radiation and this is a perfectly absorbing surface. So when the radiation will strike on it, there will be a change in momentum, that will be equal to delta u upon c, change in energy upon c. If instead of being totally absorbed, the radiation is totally reflected, means now this is the surface, electromagnetic radiation will strike on this and it will be reflected by it. So in this case, the magnitude of momentum change of object is twice that of absorption. So in case of absorption, you know delta P is equal to delta U upon C. But in case of a perfectly reflecting surface, this will be twice of the case of perfect absorber. So for totally reflecting surface, delta P will be equal to twice of delta U upon C. I hope this is clear. So the direction of momentum change of object is again in the direction of incident radiation. So this is the case for perfect reflecting. The surface is perfectly reflecting, electromagnetic radiation will strike on it, then it will be reflected. So that change in momentum will be twice of the change in momentum of perfectly absorbing surface, right? So this is about momentum of electromagnetic radiation. Now the radiation pressure. You know the pressure is defined as force per unit area. So when we are saying radiation pressure, that is again force per unit area. The radiation pressure on the object is defined as the force per unit area. So P is F upon A. And you know, according to Newton's second law of motion, that force is rate of change of momentum. F is equal to dP by dt. So if you are using this logic, then this pressure will be equal to force upon area, which is 1 upon A, and instead of force, according to Newton's second law of motion, we have mentioned here dP by dt. I hope this is clear. And you know what is your delta P? It is delta U upon C, means that is energy upon C, and it is only for perfectly absorbing surface. So we are going to change this momentum in terms of energy. So what you are going to get here? We know that delta P is equal to delta U upon C. So using this logic, this particular factor that will be replaced as du upon dt, sorry, du, P will be equal to U upon C. So this is du upon dt and C as it is because that is a constant. So 1 upon C, du upon dt upon A. Now what is this? This is flow of energy. And flow of energy per unit area. You know what is flow of energy per unit area? Means what is energy per unit time per unit area. You have discussed it in your Poynting theorem that this energy per unit time per unit area is basically your Poynting vector. So that will be replaced, means this entire term, it is representing flow of energy per unit area, it will be replaced by Poynting vector. So I am replacing this term with S. So what is the radiation pressure now? So the radiation pressure, that is your Poynting vector upon C, right? So whenever you have electromagnetic radiation, and when that radiation or when light will strike on a particular surface, then there will be a change in momentum, and that change in momentum will be your delta U upon C. Clear? And this delta P will be delta U by C only in case of perfect absorber. And that rate of change of momentum, that is going to apply a pressure on that surface. So when electromagnetic radiation will strike on a surface, it will apply a pressure, and that pressure will be equal to force exerted by that radiation per unit area. So that force per unit area is your radiation pressure. You will replace this force according to Newton's second law of motion as dP by dt. Then you will replace that momentum in terms of energy of electromagnetic radiation as delta U upon C. Then you are getting here you are getting flow of energy per unit area, and you know what is flow of energy per unit area? That is your Poynting vector. That is the reason I have replaced this term with S. So the radiation pressure for a perfect absorber, that is always equal to, just give me 1 minute. So radiation pressure for a perfect absorber is S by C. This is for perfect absorber. This is the instantaneous radiation pressure in case of total absorption, right? So now you know using the similar logic, what will be the radiation pressure for a perfect reflector? For perfect reflection, or suppose this you are having this particular surface, and now the electromagnetic radiation that is striking on this surface. So you know there will be a change in momentum which will be just double to the momentum of a perfect absorber, which is delta U upon C. And because of that there will be a pressure exerted on that surface, and there will be a pressure. So in case of perfect reflector, this pressure will be just double of the pressure in case of perfect absorber. So it will be twice of S upon C. You know what is S there? S is your Poynting vector. So this is your radiation pressure. I hope this is clear. What is radiation pressure? when electromagnetic radiation, when light is striking on a surface, it will exert a pressure on that particular surface, and that pressure will be equal to force per unit area. So force can be written in using Newton's second law of motion as rate of change of momentum, and momentum can be written as in terms of energy. So when you will simplify it, then you can see that the radiation pressure is in terms of Poynting vector, that can be written as, give me 1 minute. This radiation pressure can be written as E cross H upon C. So this is the radiation pressure for a perfect absorber. Why I am writing this, you know, because this S is your Poynting vector, and the Poynting vector is cross product of E and H. And in terms of perfect reflector, this will be 2S upon C, which can be further written as 2 E cross H upon C. So what is the conclusion here? The conclusion is that in case of electromagnetic radiations or electromagnetic pulses, if you want to represent any factor, if you want to represent the energy associated with that radiation, you will represent that energy in terms of E and H. If you want to represent the radiation pressure, you can represent that in terms of E and H. If you want to represent the momentum, you can represent in terms of E and H. Means each and every information related to that electromagnetic pulse that can be obtained with the help of electric field and magnetic field, right? So all the information that lies within that E and H. So what we have discussed in this electromagnetic field theory, we have discussed that what are the basic Maxwell equations which are the base of this electromagnetic field theory. So you should know what are those equations, how those equations are written in that particular form, then how the electromagnetic radiations they are propagating in different mediums. So we have discussed about those electromagnetic wave equations in conducting medium, in non-conducting medium, and in free space. And in free space we have also proved that the velocity of EM wave in free space is 1 upon under root mu naught epsilon naught. In a dielectric medium it is 1 upon under root mu upon epsilon, mu into epsilon, where mu is the permeability of that medium and epsilon is the permittivity. And we have also proved that in conducting medium the amplitude will decay, the amplitude of electric field and magnetic field will decay exponentially. And finally we have derived this Poynting theorem, which is the base of which is going to provide us the energy, flow of energy per unit area of electromagnetic field, and then radiation pressure and momentum. So these are the reference books which you can refer for electromagnetic field theory. So especially this particular book, David G. Griffith, you can use this book in order to understand electromagnetic field theory. So that's all related to electromagnetic field theory, which is mentioned in your syllabus. So from the next lecture we are going to start our modern physics. So that's all for today. Thank you so much.